guys, it's John Barrett with Level Up Your Leadership, where we are going to help give you visual leadership lessons to help you get better and improve as a leader so that you can be more successful in all that you do. What I want to talk to you about today is how to solve big problems. Now, let's lay some groundwork before we talk about how to solve big problems. First of all, it's okay to have problems. Drop the mic. It's okay. I see so many people that freak out because they're having problems. And they think, I'm having problems. And if we were successful, we wouldn't have problems. And I'm sure really, really highly successful people never have problems. Are you kidding me? Problems are what we all face. Now, here's the difference between people that are struggling and people that are highly successful when it comes to problems. Listen, everybody has problems, but successful people don't allow their problems to have them. Did you get that? Right? It's okay to have problems. It's not okay for your problems to have you. When you allow your problems to have you, then now you're never going to solve them because you're going to be so frantic, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be clouded, you're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to know what it is. Now, listen, if this was you and you were sitting here and I told you just to take a little quarter right here, right? If I just said take a quarter, and if I said, put that thing right up against your eye, and you took that quarter and you put it right up against your eye, you are not going to be able to see anything around. If you close this eye, you're not going to be able to see anything around that. It's just going to block your view. You're not going to be able to see it. It's just a little quarter. But listen, if you'll back up and you'll hold that quarter out here just a little bit and you'll look, you'll be able to see all around it. You'll see the quarter, but you'll also see everything else around it. And that's how problems are. When you are so close to the problem and you're right up against it, it becomes like a wall and it just blocks your ability to see anything beyond that. That's what problems do. But when you back away from your problems and you kind of step back here and you get some perspective, guess what? It allows you to see around that. That thing gets smaller and smaller. And the further you back up, guess what? The smaller that problem becomes. And now you're able to see around it. I love doing that exercise with audience and just say, put your hand up against your nose and you can't see around it. But if you back up, you'll see all around it. That's how problems work. So if you're going to solve problems, you first have to understand you've got to back away from the problem. You've got to kind of reset yourself. You've got to get in the right mindset, because if you're frantic, if you're frustrated, you're angry about it and all that, you're not going to see any ability to solve the problem. It's just going to be cloudy. So the first step is you've got to back away from the problem, all right? That's a big deal. It's okay to have problems. Don't let your problems have you by getting you caught up in it. Most leaders that I see, they're not solving problems in their organization because they're too close to it. And they're frantic and they're frustrated rather than backing up. That's why I love to sit down and coach one-on-one with people, because I want to help them back away from it and get perspective so that they can see around it and they begin to see solutions. That's the first step. Another thought that I want to give you is this. Here's the deal. How do you solve a really big problem? Well, first of all, you've got to understand that your mindset is a big deal so you can back away. But here's a little secret. Do you know what a big problem is, by the way? A big problem is just a small problem that never got dealt with. A small problem that never got dealt with, and it matured to a big problem. It's exactly what a big problem is. It's a small problem, never got dealt with, and it matured to a big problem. If you will start working on problems when they're small right here, do you know how many issues you'll keep from popping up that won't grow into a big problem? Listen, highly successful leaders and organizations, they make sure that they solve problems when they're small. They're not afraid to address issues. Listen, when you've got an attitude issue with someone on your team and you don't address it, you just kind of let it go. You think, oh, that's just so-and-so. That's just who they are. They just have a really negative attitude. You just got to put up with it, everybody. And you tell your team that over and over again, that they got to put up with so-and-so because their attitude stinks and it's toxic. Guess what? You don't deal with that small problem, I promise you, that will become a big problem at some point where other people in the organization will start to say, you know what? I don't even want to be around this anymore. I want to be on a team that's together, that has a good attitude. And they're just going to jump ship. They're going to go somewhere else and find a team where they can connect with. Listen, if you'll deal with it, you won't skirt around it, but you will address head-on small problems before they get big. Number one, it's a whole lot easier to deal with a small problem than it is a big one, by the way. Now, it takes a little more courage, and you got to kind of get in front of it. But first of all, it's a whole lot easier to deal with it when it's small. Second of all, when you do that, do you know how many issues you're going to keep from ever even getting there? Now, that's not to say that you're not going to have some big problems that arise pretty quickly, but you've got to address them quick. So I want to ask you, what issues right now are going on in your organization, in your team, maybe just in yourself, whatever it is, that's a small problem? It doesn't seem huge right now. You could let it go. It's not really an issue. Maybe you've got quote unquote time to deal with it. But here's the deal. Really, you're just skirting around it. You're not dealing with it like you need to. I'm telling you, you need to be honest with yourself and with those around you and your team and say, what issues are we not dealing with for whatever reason? Maybe we're tired, maybe we're frustrated, maybe we're just tolerant, we're overlooking it, whatever the case. What issues might you and your team be not dealing with because they're small, but if you're not careful, they're going to grow to be a big problem? You got to deal with it now. You got to make sure that you get it. Now listen, here's what's so interesting. A small problem, when you've got it, every problem that you've got, here's the deal. There is a seed in there. It's like just kind of resting in there. A seed of potential, right? A seed of potential. Every problem has a seed of potential within it. And if you will begin to look for it and you will extract that seed, you will find opportunity. In fact, do you know that most opportunities arise from a problem, from some sort of issue that came up, and you figured out a solution to it, and because of that, it opened up a whole new door. Listen, when COVID hit and our whole kind of world shut down and just disrupted everything that was going on, we had to be super creative. We had a problem on our hands, right? We had a pandemic on our hands. And many people were crushed by it. And it became a huge issue for their business, for their organization. Not just from a health perspective, but literally from a success perspective. It was an incredible shutdown and all that happened. And it became a big problem. And some organizations went under. Now, why is it that some organizations did incredibly well? And from a very genuine place, not a manipulative or taking advantage of it or anything unethical, but they literally just became more successful. They did something great. Why is that? Because in that problem, they found the seed of potential and they began to leverage that to change their business model, to change the way that they did things. One organization I was working with at the time did all kinds of travel. They didn't do much Zoom and virtual meetings with clients. And when the shutdown happened, it forced them to do it. And they all of a sudden now had to go to virtual meetings to connect with their clients all over the world, all over the globe. And when they did that, they realized, wait a minute, we didn't skip a beat. We were able to do this successfully, and it was okay. And even when things opened back up and travel was opened back up, they went ahead and did those virtual meetings because their clients were conditioned to it. And do you know how much money they saved in travel and expenses? It was unreal. In fact, they were able to hire 1 or 2 more people because of what they saved to help them scale and grow. So think about this. When you think about these problems, are you looking for that seed? Don't get frustrated when all you see is the problem and you get mad by it, frustrated by it, angry by it, upset by it, whatever it is. Don't let it cloud you. Understand, every problem has a seed of potential. And if you will deal with it when they're small, they will not grow to be big. And you will always be on your way to dealing with things and working through them as soon as they arise. So I want to challenge you. Start to solve big problems by dealing with them when they're small, and it will change everything. Guys, I hope this was helpful for you. Think about what it means for you and for your team, for your organization. Expose them to this. Talk about this so that they're on the outlook for those small problems so that you can deal with them before they get to be big. Go over to johnbarrettleadership.com. Check out all my other resources I've got over there. I would love to add value to you in your leadership journey. Reach out to us today so we can help take you and your team to the next level.